Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Now, this time I'm going to be going through my top 10 fantasy series that I want to read that I have not read yet. I've definitely cheated on some of these. I've read maybe a book in the series, but continuing. Now, this was actually on my August TBR to read The Way of Kings. Now, as of this recording, I was about 200 pages into the book, and I feel like even that is just scratching the surface. I'm 20% of the way through it, so I haven't gotten too, honestly, much of it at all. It's been mostly character introduction so far, introducing you to Shallan and Kaladin, and all these different crazy names that Brandon Sanderson has come up with for this world, such as Ashliv and Tulikov, but it's spelled like this. And of course, my personal favorite, Zeth Sunsun Volano, Truthless of Shinovar. That's a lot of names. That's a mouthful. But I've heard so many great things about the series so far that I really just want to dive into it, finish it, the first 3 books before Rhythm of War comes out in November. So that is the first series that I really wanted to get into that I hadn't yet started. I've read a lot of Brandon Sanderson to this point. I loved all of Mistborn Era 1. Mistborn Era 2 was okay. I did not like Secret History. I feel like that took away from Era 1's story, and I kind of wish I hadn't read it because I didn't really like it. And Elantris I pretty much hated. So Sanderson's been a little bit up and down for me. I have not loved everything that he's done, but I'm really hoping that Stormlight scratches that itch that I'm looking for. Okay, next up is Malazan Book of the Fallen. Now, I don't actually own these yet because I don't plan on buying them for at least several months. I am not going to start this series until 2021 in January, but I am planning on reading this series. I'm going to give it my best try. I'm going to read book 1, possibly book 2, and if I don't like it at all, I will drop it. But I've been told so many great things about this series. Much like the Wheel of Time or what Stormlight Archive is setting up to be, it's going to be a vast, sprawling universe that you have to go through. Very, very dense. Everybody's going to claim that multiple rereads is the only way you're going to understand it all. I'm not going to do that, but I do plan on trying to read it at least one time, and roughly a book a month should be plenty of time to get through that if I enjoy it, and we will go from there. I am definitely really interested in it because I've heard just the world building, the characters, the battles in it are so fantastic, and I mean, people have built their entire channels around this, and I'm really looking forward to diving deep into that lore of the series when I get to that point. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Next up, of course, is going to be Everything by Joe Abercrombie. So starting with The First Law. And this series I have been looking forward to for many, many months, and I am hoping to get around to it shortly. I'm working on finishing up a couple of other series. You will not see Dresden or Wheel of Time on this because I am 3 books into Dresden and 5 books into Wheel of Time. But I am finishing up some other series, such as Book of the Ancestor and a couple of other things that I've started and haven't finished. So once those are done, I will be jumping into First Law. I really just want to get into this world. I've heard so many great things about Joe Abercrombie as an author. His world building, his characters are top notch. I love the dark, gritty feel of what I'm told First Law contains. And this guy is, Lord Grimdark. He is the master of these morally great characters, this crappy, kind of gritty world, lots of killing, lots of violence, while also having super engaging characters that you root for and that you love to hate. So I am definitely looking forward to just getting into everything Abercrombie, and that will, of course, start with these 3 books right here. Next up, I wanted to go back a little bit. So Memory and Sorrow and Thorn by Tad Williams, of course, starting with the Dragonbone Chair, or as our boy George Martin likes to say, inspired him to write a 7-book trilogy, which, first of all, a trilogy is 3 books, George, and second of all, bullshit that you're writing 7 of them. No one believes that shit. I don't actually know a whole lot about this other than I've heard a lot of authors pull from it. So if this book is as good as it sounds for all these modern day authors to be pulling all their ideas and story structures and things like that from, I really want to see where that started. So I'm super interested in seeing what this book has to offer. And then I believe this is several books long in a series as well. I have heard some mixed things, that this slows down a little bit in the middle. It's meandering. It can get a little slow. But I'm reading The Wheel of Time, and I'm going to read Malazan. I don't think this is going to be a problem. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into some Tad Williams and seeing how I like it. Next up, we are going into Brent Weeks' Lightbringer. So again, this is another one that I have heard rave reviews about. except for maybe book 5. Is that the Burning White? Whichever one is the last book in this series. I've heard very mixed things on it, either sticking the landing or really messing up. So all I really know about this is that the character work is great. The magic system revolving around the use of light and colors is fantastic. It gets compared to Allomancy in the sense that it's one of those magic systems that's really a hard magic system. It's super engaging, well thought out, and just so unique and interesting that it really pulls you in. And that was one of the biggest things for Mistborn for me, was Allomancy was the coolest magic system that I had read. And then the characters were so great, and the story was engaging enough that I, ate up Era 1 in a couple of weeks. I absolutely loved it. So I'm really thinking that I'm going to get the same feel when I start Lightbringer, and I will go from there. I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, of course, we have The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. Now, I have read and reviewed The Last Wish. The reason I included this here, though, is because there is another collection of short stories, plus the entire main series of this series, which I haven't started yet, and I'm really looking forward to, because my entire background of The Witcher, which dates back years, is I played all 3 games. I played Witcher 1, 2, and 3. I played Gwent. I've played Thronebreaker. I've basically absorbed all the Witcher content through video games and then came to the books. I, of course, have seen the show. It was pretty good overall, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what these actual books have to offer because, again, I've heard a lot of love for this. I've heard some mixed things. I've heard that some things are lost in translation. I don't know exactly what to expect out of the main story because I don't actually know what the main story of Geralt is throughout these books. I love the short stories, though. I really enjoyed the kind of Monster of the Week side mission aspect that it takes, and I'm looking forward to see what the actual main story and plot is revolving around him, Yennefer, Triss, Ciri, the whole cast, Dandelion, everybody, because I do already enjoy the hell out of these characters. And if the games are anything like the books, I have a feeling I'm going to really, really love them. Next up is it's a shorter series, but very, very fat, full of detail books, and that is the Licanius Trilogy by James Islington. And of course, as it says on the cover, this is one of those that says, if you love the Wheel of Time, you'll love this. I've heard very conflicting views as to the truth behind that. I've heard a lot of people say, yes, this is very much similar to Wheel of Time, to Lord of the Rings. It pulls a lot of the same stories and tropes that you're familiar with, and that's probably why you would like it. I've also heard from some people who are massive Wheel of Time fans that is so far from the truth, that this is nothing like the Wheel of Time. So I don't really know, but I'm looking forward to this. I mean, the concept sounds cool. If it's got engaging characters, even if it does follow the same kind of, chosen one trope or story beats that a lot of these other high epic fantasies follow, that's what I love. I love these big, fat, epic fantasy books, and gives you a lot of world building and detail to just sink your teeth into. So that is what I'm looking for in this series. I believe it's 3 or 4 books. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll look it up. I only have the first one, but again, I'm buying a lot of firsts to all of these because I want to see if I like it, and then I will pick up the rest and go from there. Okay, next up, this is not particularly just the Farseer trilogy. This is just The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. So that is, I believe it's up to 14 books, maybe at this point. But Assassin's Apprentice. So this was my first book of the year that I read after not reading anything for over a decade. And I feel like I didn't honestly give it a very fair shake because after not reading for so long, I was going into this really expecting, action-packed, fun assassin adventure. And that is just not at all what this book was. I was not prepared for Robin Hobb's very purple prose. I was not prepared for the character of Fitz and his internal battles and his sort of mental distress that he's put through in this book. I was not ready for it to not really be about assassinating people. This is very much a character study of Fitz. Lots of world building, lots of internal monologuing and dialogue, and just really seeing the pain that this character has gone through and has grown up in, and why he's training to be an assassin. Everything sounded cool, and then I completely didn't get what I was expecting. So I was rather let down by it. I thought it was kind of boring and didn't really do a lot. And I definitely want to give it another shot. Plus, I'm a sucker for really fancy, awesome looking hardbacks, and these have awesome illustrated editions. So I believe the plan is going to be to start buying those and then reread it and give it a fair shot in review, because I just don't think I did it justice. And if I like the second book enough, I will definitely continue on. I have heard from many, many people that the Farseer trilogy is the weakest of all of her books. So if I end up liking it by Royal Assassin, then I'm probably going to pick up, the Live Ship Traders or some of the other things that she's written, because I've just heard too many good things to ignore it. Next up, I think it's only 2 books right now, but Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I know Bloody Rose is the sequel, and I believe he's continuing it and planning on publishing more books. But I am definitely looking forward to this series, because I have heard from just about everybody that this is a hell of a lot of fun. It really pulls from a lot of, 70s and 80s rock bands. You have this band of kind of washed up heroes that gets back together. They're getting the band back together to go fight and save the world, kind of thing. It just sounds like it's going to be a ton of fun. Definitely looking forward to the writing style and just having it be, a more engaging and exciting book, and not taking itself too seriously, not super detailed. I've heard from a lot of people that it has fantastic character work, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I've seen Nick Eames give a couple of interviews, and he just seems like a super cool guy, really engages well with his audience. So sorry if I called you Nick, that's not what he goes by. But Nicholas Eames seems like a really cool guy, and I definitely want to give this series a shot as well. And last but certainly not least, as I try to mix in some more female authors as well, I am going to be looking forward to Jenn Lyons' The Ruin of Kings, and this series is the something prophecy? I don't remember what the series is called, but Ruin of Kings. I complained about this when I bought it because I hate the stupid little cover sleeve thing where they cut it short so they can show all these comments and stuff. Don't do that, please. But I've heard a lot of great things about this series as well, and it is being heaped with praise from people comparing it to A Song of Ice and Fire, to Wheel of Time, to all of these great fantasy epics. And I don't know how many books are planned in this. I don't know what to expect outside of what's on the back of the book and all the hype that's built around it and the praise that's kind of showered on it from all these different comparisons that this book gets. On the back of the book, though, it does sound like it's going to be a bit of a twist on the Chosen One trope, almost in the ilk of something like the Wheel of Time. But this is basically saying the Chosen One is not meant to save the world, he's meant to destroy it. So I have to assume that is going to get turned on its head, because I doubt that this is going to follow a main character who eventually kills everybody and destroys the world. I have a feeling that's going to be flipped on its head, or, the prophecy is going to be switched somehow, expectations subverted. But again, big epic fantasies, traditional fantasy tropes and creatures and world building, all the stuff that I love in fantasy. Definitely looking forward to this one. That is the 10th and final series that I am currently most looking forward to. There are a ton of others that I just didn't put on this list that I am also looking forward to. Promise of Blood and the Powder Mage trilogy. I'm looking forward to reading Shannara at some point. Funny story about that, in my book haul when I bought the 30th and 31st book. Wasn't my best moment, okay? Just continuing the Dresden Files, getting some more Mark Lawrence. There's a ton of stuff that I want to read. But drop in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys have read any of these, if you're looking forward to reading more of them, or if you want me to read something else that I didn't mention that you really, really love. And let me know if you have any opinions on what I should read first, because I have not built out my TBR for any of the following months. I just did that for August. I'm looking to fill in the next couple of months. Obviously, I'm getting Stormlight out of the way and ready for November. I'm going to continue Wheel of Time. 5 books into that, I'll probably start book 6 in September, but I might stagger that because Stormlight is so heavy that's probably going to be 10 to 14 days, depending on which book it is. So feel free to let me know any of your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video, and like and subscribe as always if you do enjoy the content. And until next time, everybody, just keep reading.